Welcome some of you. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the third game between Ding-Gukesh and Gukesh-Ding. This game was played in World Championship match. As you know, Gukesh started with a loss in round 1, to the shock of the entire world. In round 2, Ding used the white pieces to coast towards the draw and preserve his lead. In round 3, however, it was Gukesh's turn to take matters into his own hands. He started with the move d4, which was a surprise for many, as he has played e4 in the first round. Ding replied with the natural knight f6, knight f3 and d5, something he's always played. After c4, e6, Gukesh took on d5, a system popularized by Magnus Carlsen. White right away fixes the pawn structure and avoids topical lines such as the Tarrasch after knight c3, c5, cd5 and c takes d4. These lines are known to be quite drawish, and c takes d5 is one of the most ambitious way to play. Now we get the so-called Carlsbad structure after c6. Black's got these 3 pawns here and white's going to have 3 pawns here. An interesting asymmetrical pawn structure, and one of the most important things in this pawn structure is the fate of this bishop on c8. The bishop dreams to get developed on nice f5 square on this beautiful diagonal, and white is going to try and prevent it. This is going to be a theme of the entire game. Queen c2, preventing bishop f5, all theory so far. g6, black resumes the threat of bishop f5, but now this diagonal was made a little bit shorter, which will make a difference very soon. Gukesh plays h3. This is an interesting idea that was employed by Vladimir Kramnik. Very interesting. Bishop f5, queen b3, queen b6, and now g4. Targeting this bishop, which is exposed. Now Ding had an important choice to make. He could draw back to e6, which would be a very stable, solid move. However, the bishop then would be very passive, staring into its own pawns. Ding chose the most ambitious approach. He traded queens and kept the bishop on this active diagonal. However, the bishop is missing squares and is about to get trapped. Gukesh played bishop f4. Now you can't take the pawn, because after knight d2, bishop c2, rook c1, bishop e4, f3, the bishop literally gets trapped. And if you go bishop c4, white takes the bishop, goes for e3. White has won the bishop pair and is going to regain this pawn, since after b5 you can take and play bishop g2, winning the rook here. After bishop f4, Ding had to find another solution. He went h5, rook g1, takes, and here the plot thickens. The bishop is about to get trapped with knight d2, followed by rook c1. Now Ding came up with a great solution. Knight d7, knight d2 and rook to g8. Very precise move. Now after rook c1, black is just in time to free the bishop with the move g5. The bishop now gets access to the diagonal once again, and if white tries to win the pawn with bishop g5, rook g5, rook c2, black is just in time to regain the pawn, restoring material balance and equality. Here Gukesh went for g5. Positional concession, because the bishop now has access to the f5 square again. The bishop is safe. Or is it? Knight h5, bishop h2, rook h8. Very good move by Ding. The knight should get rerouted, and the bishop can now always come back to safety. The rook on the h file is being very annoying, targeting some pieces, and always being active on the open file. f3 played by Gukesh. He is hinting at e4. Knight g7, targeting the bishop, bishop g3. Now Ding has a choice. He could retreat the bishop, which is the safest option, with a very stable, excellent position. Or he could first attack the g5 pawn with bishop e7. He chose the third option, the careless rook h5, a big mistake. Now after e4, the bishop actually gets trapped. After rook g5, rook c1, there is no way to save the bishop. Perhaps Ding has forgotten that after bishop e7 this wasn't the case, because after e4, bishop g5, rook c1, he had bishop takes d2, freeing the bishop. Now he thought bishop e7 and rook h5 both would force the move bishop f2, but no, they're not the same. After rook h5, Gukesh found e4. Now things were not so simple after that either. Ding has taken on e4, played knight e6, rook c1, knight d4, reconnecting with the bishop, but the bishop is trapped. Bishop f2, targeting the knight, defending the knight, and here knight e2, a very strong move, getting rid of the defender of this bishop. Now the bishop is falling. Knight b3, the best way to try and salvage at least some of the pawns, but after rook c2, white is up a piece. Knight d2, king d2, knight e5, and now all white has to do is consolidate, which Gukesh managed. He went knight d4, king e2. White is ready to trade the knight, and in the ensuing game, White was able to flawlessly convert it and win the game. The score is now 1-1, 1-1. The match is heating up.